I call the November 7th, 2023 meeting of the New Bern City Planning and Zoning Board to order. Item number 2 is new on the agenda. It's chairman remarks, but I'm going to take just a second, just since everybody's here. Thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate you coming out. I think it's very important for citizens to be involved in their local government, so thanks for coming, everyone. We do, because of the number, and we'll reiterate this once I get to item number D. Limit to just one time up at the podium, maybe 3 to 5 minutes each. We'll see how it goes. But with that, Mr. Sexton, can you give me a roll call?
I will give you a roll call here. Starting with Mr. Brad Jefferson.
Here.
Mr. Rusty Ingram.
Here.
Mr. Raymond Layton. Ms. Margie Dunn.
Here.
Ms. Kelly Kaiser.
Here.
Mr. Sonny Aluzo.
Here.
Mr. Kyle Deering.
Here.
And Mr. Marshall Ballard.
Yes.
Okay, you're all right. All right.
We have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. So the approval of the September 5th minutes, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
I'll move that we accept them as is.
There are some questions in the minutes.
Okay.
Can we postpone that until, can I make a motion that we postpone that until the next, take it till the next meeting?
Absolutely.
If Mr. Aluzo is going to withdraw his motion, I think Ms.
I withdraw my
Okay, Ms. Kaiser is welcome to make a motion.
This is why she's here. She does a great job. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? A second.
What is her motion?
Our motion is to table the meeting until the next meeting. And I second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to item 5A, the 3277 Old Airport Road annexation.
And as Mr. Brad said,
We just want that.
Give me just a moment here. So, as Mr. Chairman stated, this is here the first item, 3277 Old Airport Road. It has been annexed into the city. The applicant, just starting off, is going to be for the city of New Bern, and the owners here are Michael and Rose Miller. The parcel ID is identified as 7-105-1000. And the location again, 3277 Old Airport Road, New Bern, North Carolina. The zoning proposed for the property is going to be residential 8, which is R-8. And the sizing is 0.89 acres. And just in consideration, I'll just give a brief description. This is just pertaining to the R-8 zoning district, and the 8 essentially is the representation for 8,000 square feet for the minimum lot size. And essentially, these are some of the bullets here that you can see, A through E, that give a description for the zoning district. And just to read those 2 top bullets at least, Michael and Rose Miller did request to be annexed into the city's municipal boundary. And this was at its meeting held on October 10th, 2023. The Board of Aldermen, they did approve the consideration for the request to be annexed into the city's municipal boundary. And here on this first map, this is a aerial for the actual physical site. It's just reflecting the site that's highlighted in red. And here is another zoning map for the actual site. The R8 is kind of reflective of what it's going to be. You kind of see that adjacent to the property. And again, just to try to identify the site for you, it's highlighted there in the blue color. This is the property to be annexed. And Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
I do not. I'll open it up to the board for discussion.
I have a question. So the properties on either side of this one that they're requesting to be annexed is not part of us?
No, ma'am. So just this highlighted area right here with blue that's signifying, that's the only property that's requesting.
And they want to do that why?
There's not a
They
specific.
typically want to
Building a
access the
house.
city of New Bern utilities.
Right.
This happens all the time, and the reason you're seeing this is so we don't have to bring you 29 properties that don't have zoning that have gotten annexed into the city. So you're gonna see these come as the city annexes properties in. The Board of Aldermen hold a public hearing and decide whether or not to annex somebody in. Typically, someone from utilities speaks and explains why the request is being made, and it's almost always something about the water and sewer. And so you'll probably see more come in, but you can't force groups to annex in, so they do them on a case by case, and this was the most recent case.
So that's the only parcel that this person owns?
I'm not aware that that's the only parcel. I believe they have a couple more, but this
In
is,
conjunction to this one, to either side? I'm just curious.
as far as I understand, that's the only part that they own on this side, but they have multiple properties, if that makes sense.
Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't realize I would ask you to speak.
So the two parcels that are on Big Cypress Road, one is 100 Big Cypress and the other is 3281 Old Airport Road, are our parcels also.
But you don't want those annexed?
Well, they've already got small structures on them and stuff, and we've already got city sewer from the way they used to do it back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, understand. Thanks.
I move we approve the application as stated.
We're making a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen to either approve the request for rezoning or deny the request for rezoning. That's your first step. Consistency.
Yeah, we have to go through the whole consistency.
Yes, we gotta do all that.
Okay, so I move we adopt the consistency statement and we make a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen to approve the application for rezoning.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 5B, West New Bern Parcel C General Plan. We have to do these separate, B and C?
I would understand.
Yes, sir.
It's separated.
So you can kind of do a quick vote.
All right, and this is for sub, or I guess I'll just spell it out, SUB. It's a major subdivision, 002-792-2023, West New Bern, Parcel C, General Plan. And the applicant and owner, I don't want to butcher the name, but I think it's Weyerhaeuser.
Weyerhaeuser.
Apologize, real estate.
Not coming in.
So the location is Mayhew Drive in the West New Bern community. The existing zoning currently is commercial 3 or C-3, and the size for this particular cutout is going to be 2.61 acres. And this is just a consideration here. It is essentially one lot, again, to be subdivided in 2.61 acres off of the Weyerhaeuser tract. And the city of New Bern utilities is to be utilized for this property. And here in this statement, I'm not going to read the entire statement there, but it's essentially just giving you again what that district is for, the C-3 or commercial 3 district, telling you what types of things are allowed, essentially looked at towards commercial and residential uses, and it's suitable in this case, essentially for high volume traffic. So gives you a brief description. And currently, this is the site this is the aerial for the site, and it's highlighted in red. So you can see the cutout there once again, but please understand the entirety of the tract is highlighted in blue. The cutout is the red section. And again, this is just their site plan essentially reflecting that. It's a continued element from the previous site plan as we were looking at. And staff's evaluation, all the legal requirements for the general subdivision plan approval have been satisfied. And lastly, as far as for public works, fire, water, resources, and the electric departments have reviewed the plan and have no objections that they're aware of.
The applicant like to speak?
Any questions? Sort of the same old with Weyerhaeuser, we're taking apart piece by piece.
And we were here 2 months ago when we did the part that's on top of the.
Right next to
This
it.
side, this stuff that comes over.
And then I didn't have anything, so you canceled your September meeting because I didn't have anything for you.
Andrew, what's your next slide there after that?
The next item.
All right, so I'll open it up to the board for any other questions. And if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept. Do we have to do all that other language?
Nope, not on a subdivision.
This would be a motion for approval. This would not be a recommendation.
Okay.
I second.
I have a motion, a second. Any more discussion? Supposed to do that before? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 5C, West Newton Parcel C final plan.
Madam Chairman, this is for the West New Bern Parcel C again. This is the final plan. And here's the consideration for the property. Again, this is owned and the owner and applicant on Weyerhaeuser Real Estate. The location once more, Mayhew Drive, Community. The existing zoning is commercial 3, size 12/26. And essentially, another reflection of the same difference that we saw from the previous. It's just a description of the actual zoning district for C-3. To the next one here. Again, reflecting the area for the property, and you just understand it's highlighted in red. That's the piece to be separated. Site plan here, paying for the project. And just a continued condition with both for the site plan. The staff's evaluation, West New Bern LLC, Parcel C, one lot of essentially 2.61 acres received general plan approval, which it did previously. For the City of New Bern Planning and Zoning Board on November 7th, 2023. All technical and legal requirements for the final subdivision plan approval have been satisfied. And the Director of Public Works has approved the bond estimate at $558,840. And Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions from the board, I'll take those.
All right, I'll open it up to discussion from the board.
Robert, do we have a assurance letter?
Not that I've seen. The bond would
I'm
not,
asking the applicant.
We have a compliance bond.
Okay, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Can we get a copy of that? Robert, can you get that? We're good.
You can have that one.
All right. Hearing no discussions, I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion that we approve Parcel C, final plot.
All right, I have a motion. I have a
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 5D, Philmont rezoning.
And as Chairman said, this is for the Philmont rezoning. The request summary here, the applicant is Mr. Philip Thompson, and the owners, essentially, there is multiple or a multitude of properties, so I left that to refer to the staff report for the board. The location here is within the Philmont neighborhood, and the existing zoning right now, currently as it sits, is residential 20, which is R-20 for abbreviation. And the request is to change this from R-20 to commercial 3, which is C-3. The size in totality, and this is all the parcels combined, would essentially be 8.75 total acres worth of essentially the change from R-20 to C-3. And here is a zoning district summary or analysis essentially for the R-20 zoning district. It basically gives, again, a description of the zoning district and what it allows. I'll read this first bullet for you. The R-20 rural residential district is designed to accommodate low-density single-family dwellings with 20,000 square feet minimum lots that may not be serviced with city sewer service or multifamily dwellings that are serviced with city sewer. For the R-20 residential district and promoting the general purposes of this ordinance, the specific intent of this district is, which would be to encourage construction of and continued use of the land for low-density, single-family or multi-family dwellings, preservation of rural character, and also to prohibit commercial, industrial use of the land, discourage any use because of its character or size, would create requirement and costs for public services, and to encourage the discontinuance of existing uses that would not therefore be permitted, so essentially not allowed. And then lastly, to encourage development to take place in a manner that promotes a healthy environment.
Andrew, just in plain English, describe all that's allowed in R20. Just, it's low density residential.
Yes, currently.
Very simply, that's all you can do.
Yes, exactly.
What can't you do?
Yes, essentially.
You're very limited solely to residential development.
Yes.
No use of storage, no commercial, none of that. Low density, large lots, residential uses. It's just, we're all here to learn, so.
Yeah. And the generalness is exactly as to what Ms. Ruth has said. Commercial 3, I'm going to go ahead and give that distinction so you have a comparison, you can understand it. So the commercial 3 zoning district analysis, the C3 commercial district, it's established for specific uses such as offices, personal services, and retailing of durable and convenience goods. So essentially, this is more or less the opposite in some ways, allowing for multiple types of business uses. So I'm not going to read it verbatim, but that's essentially how the C3 district is designed. And just to kind of touch on the same differences as to what I was just speaking of, I've highlighted some key areas for permitted uses. The S would stand for a special use permit requirement. The Z, in essence, allows for it to be permitted by right. Residential uses here underneath the R-20 zoning district, single-family detached, short-term rental, partial house, short-term rental, whole house. These are all permitted by right within the R-20. Non-residential uses, which are a bit different in this case for the R-20 zoning district, government offices and supporting services contained within a fully enclosed building, special use permit, elementary, secondary schools, or including associated grounds and athletic and other facilities, special use permit again. I'm not going to go through the entirety of it, but I'll kind of switch over here to the commercial side. And so you have some of the permitted uses here as well. The residential uses, again, single family, two family, and duplex. These are all permitted by right. And some other non-residential uses that it allows for would be, say, operations designed to attract little or no customer or client traffic other than employees of the entity operating the principal use. That's permitted by right. One that's a special use permit would be operations designed to attract and serve customers or clients on the premises. That's a special use permit. So, the consideration here, proposed rezoning involves 20 properties total that are currently zoned for residential uses and are currently used for single-family residences. Adjacent properties are zoned primarily R-8 or A-5, and that's residential 8 and or agricultural 5, which are residential and agricultural in nature. There are 2 adjacent properties that are zoned C3 and C4, but both properties have frontage along the NC 55. It should be noted that the subject properties have their frontage along Hillmont Road, and which is not striped and does not have sidewalks to accommodate pedestrian traffic as it was originally designed in 1953 to be a residential subdivision. And that's the map book page just per that section. And pictures to include for neighbors so you can kind of get a better understanding as to what you're looking at. So on the left side here, there's 2 pictures. We essentially, myself and Mr. Robert, we went down and took pictures. I focused on the left-hand side here. You can see these 2. Mainly, this is like essentially entering into the property to neighborhood. Again, moving further down into the neighborhood. And here are some shots of the right-hand side. And that's two pictures that have been joined together. And lastly, we're gonna, well, not lastly, excuse me, we're gonna start towards the aerial for the different properties that were selected, highlighted in the red. There, those are all the properties that were focused and identified from the applicant. And are again highlighted in blue this time. This is a reflection on the zoning map, just to show and understand what is the closest and nearby differences of zoning that are being applied here. And this is a vicinity map for the actual parcels. Again, just trying to show you what is specifically being requested. And Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions, probably be a good idea to switch over to the applicant and allow for the applicant to take those questions.
But do we get to ask questions?
Yes, ma'am, if you will just respect it, Chairman.
So, without objection from the board, I'm going to ask the applicant to come up. We'll do some possible back and forth with him, and then once he's done, we'll open it up to everyone else in the room. Once again, I'll ask you to come up to the podium one time and address the board, not each other, not the applicant, to be respectful, and then maybe limit it to 3-5 minutes or however it makes you feel. So with that, sir, I'll turn it over to you.
How are y'all today?
We're good.
Amelia Thompson. I drew up this. I didn't mean to include everybody's number in it, but I was instructed to give a general area, so that's why everybody's number was in there. I own 125 Philmont Road, and I'm interested in trying to, I own a barber shop, and I'm interested in trying to put this opening a shop on my property. All the land on 55 is zone C3. That's what leads us right to here. All of this is zone C3. We've had a couple of different beauty shops in our neighborhood up on 55, and I was wondering what it would take for me to be able to do that. I was also informed that it would be easier to try to rezone the whole area versus to spot zoning, which would be my own property. I thought, this is just my thought, hopefully I didn't tick anybody off, but I thought that other people might find a use in rezoning the area for their own personal gain. I don't know what everybody else has planned. I've been living off the street for maybe 30 years, and this is an area that I grew up in, and I feel like that would be a great thing for my neighborhood. Like I said, I had to give an area for all of these addresses, so I just wrote up the street, picked up the addresses. Not saying that that's what has to happen, but that's the area that we're trying to make better or trying to build up. So the first slide that he showed where the mobile homes are at, that's my lot. I want to try to make that part my business. So I don't know what else it was going to take. I didn't know it was going to take all of this, but hopefully nobody's upset with me. But you know, I don't know anything about the taxes and all that stuff. I wasn't informed that taxes would change or anything for the land, so I don't know anything about that. But this is just what I'm trying to work for. Yes, sir.
Sir, excuse me. Sorry, it's not, we can't have that here in this form. Before I open it up to the board, I do want to make one comment. I know you said that you didn't necessarily want or need, or this has to happen on all those properties, but that's what we're dealing with tonight, is all of those properties
Yes, sir.
that was on the application.
Yes, sir.
So that's what we're dealing with tonight.
Yes, sir.
With that, I'll open it up to the board.
What's your question?
Can you show me on the map where you're getting your,
This is my property right here. This has to be Monday too.
Can you go to the map so we can see it?
Yeah, which
So it'd be, it'd be right here,
okay.
at the beginning of the street.
I'm curious why we didn't ask to rezone the properties towards Highway 55 and
Because-
elected, because that's where it would have made the application stronger like we discussed several months ago.
Yes, ma'am, but, I know the Wallace family, and, I'm just guessing, I don't know for sure, but, I'm thinking that their lot is already zone C3 because,
It's zoned R20.
okay, and also, this young lady over here in the corner, she lives on the corner as well, and I thought maybe all of those were already zoned to the C3 thing.
So let's study this map for a moment, if you don't mind me walking you through this. Okay. So we've got Highway 55, which is, we consider a main developed corridor, which would probably make sense to have C3 on it. We see some C3 in the red across the street, two decent sized swaths of that. But then throughout this neighborhood and to the east there and right to the north, it's still zoned R20. That's that very low density, like we saw the pictures of residential. You can have residential in C3. Let's be clear on that. Kendrick showed you that chart. It wouldn't be making anything non-conforming. I'll also say when the property's already developed, your taxes are based on what's developed on the property, not on the zoning. So it's not a tax go up thing. It would be, we're looking at his specific request, which if we look at just his lot, is so small in that C of R20. We have state law that suggests it's not appropriate to take a really tiny piece and zone it specifically for something. So he was attempting to look at a larger area. I think we're going to hear from some folks tonight that are probably concerned and would like to stay R20, and that's great. So in considering what you're going to recommend or take action or not take action on tonight, you don't have to look at all these properties. You can look at just his, you can look at bits and pieces, you could reduce it. So just bear that in mind as you're taking comments. His end game, he shared with you, of course, we have to think of all of the uses that you can do in on any of those properties. You would be able to get permits to do anything Kendrick showed on that slide in C3. And so that always does, it can concern people when you're typically coming from a residential area and then all of a sudden people could come in and put commercial. Not just him, we're looking at the big picture. We know his kind of end game he would like to be because he shared that. He didn't have to, but we need to consider everything on those non-residential uses would be allowed there and whether or not after we looked at pictures of that would be appropriate.
Thank you.
For context, okay?
Well, we couldn't add properties tonight. We can only take away properties tonight.
I think tonight, we can't add anything in that hasn't been advertised, but we can certainly reduce.
does the road go all the way through to another?
No.
Or it stops at
Stops at 55.
So what has to be considered is on the application. Removing properties via this conversation would be considered something along the lines of conditions. And this is not a conditional rezoning. This is a straight rezoning.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could
They could drop properties if they wanted to just recommend one, right?
They can, if they make the finding that some of these properties are consistent with land uses and whatnot, then they can recommend. If they find that some are not, they can find that those properties are not in compliance with adjacent land uses and land claims and recommend accordingly.
Yeah, if you need additional context on that part. Your staff report actually reflects what all addresses are in this particular request, so you can refer back to one.
But you may bear in mind, Madam Director's earlier comments about how the state law tells us when you have very small tracts and a larger tract, that is generally not favorable when you're thinking about rezonings.
Okay.
Can you go back to that page where you had it split from residential to R12 to
This one?
yeah. Pretty much similar.
I will tell you this, not just this board, but the Board of Aldermen will not just be considering what you want to do with it, but what the future uses are. Is that, I mean, you could sell it and then somebody else could do something. And going back down into zoning is more difficult than coming up to zoning.
What else could be put there on C3? I mean,
Anything on that list?
If you direct your attention to the right side,
Right side.
what?
if you direct your attention to the right side of the screen, you can see at the top it says commercial C3. If you go down, it says, there's a portion that says non-residential uses. All of those line items with a Z are permitted by right. And then there are some that are special uses, but those are the non-residential uses that are permitted by right in C3 zoning classification.
Is there any effect on the city? Are there services that have to be added to this area if you change the zoning to C3?
Not by virtue of changing zoning in and of itself, no.
Because it would be difficult, I would think, to generate, or to allow high volume traffic generation on a dead end road.
So if a business came in that was permitted in that zoning classification, that could trigger other requirements.
All right, does the board have any more questions for the applicant? No? All right, sir. Thanks, guys. We're going to allow anyone else to come up, remember, to address the board, not the applicant, with whatever your concerns are pertaining to the city.
And Mr. Chair, you might have whoever is going to speak, you might have whoever's going to
Well,
speak.
one second, sir.
You might have whoever's going to speak to give their name and address. That might help the board.
Okay, let's do that. Your name and address.
My name is Ernest Williams, 2 lots there, 180 and 90, I think. 2 lots. And I was just curious as to which lot it was that the applicant was wanting to be rezoned. I'm looking at all this and I didn't, apparently I missed that part.
125.
125.
Looking up there.
It's the top, isn't it the top blue hatched area
The
on
other
the
question I
right-hand
had
side
was,
of Vermont Road?
the other question I had was why all this and these 2 lots and these right here in particular are not actually
I don't have that answer.
So that was not part of the application. Everything that's in the blue was part of the application. And just to clarify, like I mentioned, we can't add or subtract from the application. You certainly can recommend that, and if the applicant chooses to amend his application moving forward, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
But we cannot do it as a function of a condition.
Okay. All right, so for all intents and purposes, we can't change that here.
The board nor staff.
Okay. Right. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
I own that lot on 224, Hillmark, and just the map before that showed a short-term rental. What does that involve? What do you mean with short-term rental?
So a short-term rental then is kind of like are you familiar with like Airbnbs? For that type of
You mean you can't rent it out to a family like a 12-month lease or what?
It essentially, I mean, it's a permitted right actually right now for residential, or it's both ways, C3 and in R-20 it can be done.
I mean, because right now, that's what I have is a rental. But if you're saying because he wants a barber shop, and I understand that, but then it involves this kind of,
those are just examples of uses that can be applied to each district. It's not saying that it's happening per se, but it's just a comparison so that you understand the differences.
and also, I can see a barber shop maybe not being a problem, but then you don't know what other businesses are allowed to come in. I don't want the neighborhood to be totally run down where families are living and not be, safe environment. We've had that now since the 70s and have not had any problem, and I don't want to see it go downhill and, be taken over with anybody comes along, okay, I want a business by my house. But, that I'm hoping that you will consider.
Thank you. One other, well, I'm not, go right ahead.
Good. My name is Carl Davis. I own 225 Hillmont Road on the property. The problem that I have with the whole situation is I don't have a problem with him putting a barber shop on his property, but on this map, it shows that the site is back here where is petitioned for, not up front. Second thing is, there is no way to turn around now on that road. The city trucks have to back all the way back out to get down that road now. We have kids in the neighborhood that plays in the area. This is not a place for that. And I know you say that the taxes will not go up, but the taxes are going to go up. Yeah, you say that now. 6 months from now, you will raise our tax because you done changed it from a residential to a commercial. And I'm totally against it.
Thank you, sir.
After public comment.
After the public comment.
I'm Harold Cruz. I live at 224 Hillmont. I live directly across from that site. And if you go back to your pictures there, one more.
Back up.
You gotta get that little red shed that he's got in his yard, the guy next across the street. I live right across the street from that greenhouse.
We may not have that picture.
You have it.
You had the picture I
Right there,
saw.
right there, right there.
Okay.
But anyway, he's got right here. He's got 2,140 tires. So if you zone it for business, the first thing he's gonna do, he's already got a tire machine. He's got 2,140 tires in that shed. He's gonna open up a tire store. And we got kids down there, a year and a half, 3 years old, 4 years old. Mommy's unloading the groceries. We get some nut coming down to get new tires, runs over a kid. The road's 11.5 feet wide. Half of the people don't put their trash barrels on their lawn, they keep them on the edge of the road. So if you got 2 cars, the average car is 6.5 foot wide. You got 2 cars coming, and the trash barrels are in the road. You can't do it, you gotta stop and let the other guy go. But the idea of him wanting to change a lot to commercial, he's already got the tire changer machine, he's got everything set, he's got over 2,000 tires in that shed, and we can't have a tire store on our street. I mean, I live directly across from it, and I don't want to hear psh, psh, all day. I'm 72 years old, I got rheumatoid lung, I'm not going to put up with it. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment. Go ahead, sir. Just your name and address, please.
I'm Ron Pringle and my wife Linda sitting over here. We've lived on Hillmont for 25, 26 years. We bought the property as commercial and have every inclination to keep it
It's residential, baby.
residential. That's pretty much it. All the arguments that Harold made were good ones.
What was your address for the record, sir?
245.
Yes.
kind of live across from all that.
Yeah, we live almost directly across the street from it all.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have to stand up there?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. How you doing? My name is Marcus McDonald. I'm 170 Philmont. I just recently got my property there. And I'm in the process of clearing it off. I just got southern boundaries to do my line, my property line. I'm really wanting to keep it residential because this is like the first place where I want to start my family. You know what I mean? And I've looked all over everywhere, and this is a quiet place. You know what I mean? I want to keep it that way. But also, I understand because I've had my own business too, as well, concrete business. So my dad recently passed away. My dad, and my brother recently passed away. So that's why I got the property with the one that I inherited. So, I mean, I really want this property, but I want to keep it residential. But I do understand what he's trying to do. If he does his own property, how would that wouldn't affect none of any of our properties?
That would be spot zoning, which is inconsistent with.
So that's what you're saying, that would give him a
If
smaller
we
chance.
just do his property, then.
And that'll give him a smaller chance of actually getting on this round.
Actually, no, that would make it significantly harder to do.
Yeah, it is. So now, okay. So if we do change the zoning and it does go to the business, like I said, anybody can come in and purchase our land and come in and try to do something else with it and say, hey, we want to open up a Walmart here or whatever. They can personally.
Anything that's in those permitted uses.
Right.
Correct.
You have to agree with
Not a Walmart per se, but absolutely. Anything that, there's more to it. There's a list, but basically that's what they could do on that. Now, one other thing I've been waiting to say, this board is only making a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen, if we recommend to do it, would then have to vote on it, and they would have a public comment as well. So we're not making the final deal here. We're just.
So if they did, okay, so this is my last question I'm thinking about. So if they did, then, like, I'm gonna leave it alone, but I say we keep it residential.
All right. Does any other members of the public? Okay, you're right here, sir. Your name and address for the record.
I'm Bernard Thompson. I live at 261. That's the second to the last on the left. I'm not disputing with anybody that wants to do business, but speaking for me, I'm probably a rookie to some of the people that have lived there. We've only been there 30. I know you've been there before some of us have been there before we were there. But, my family's been there 30 years, and I would like to preserve it the way it is. I wouldn't want to see anybody have access to build any commercial things next to where these kids play at. So I do agree that we should keep it residential. Well, that's it. That's what I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak? No? Oh, absolutely.
I live at 248 Philmont. My concern is
Your name, sir?
the tires that are sitting there. I work at a tire store, so I hear that all day long, okay? And I've seen the tires sitting there, and that was my major concern, that's what this was getting turned into. The road is not serviceable for any type of business on that road. I live at the last house on the right. People turn around in my driveway constantly. They drive through the neighbor's yard, through his yard, across the driveway to get out. It's kind of a nightmare living where at the end of the road. And I don't think a lot of people coming down that road know it's a dead end, even though it is supposed to be a dead end. And it's, you get two cars coming, one here and one there, like they said, it's very difficult to navigate that road. So I wish you luck with the barber shop, but in this setting, I don't think it's the right move for that neighborhood. Thank you.
What's your name for the record, sir?
Tom Whitwell.
Thanks.
Any other members of the public who wish to speak? Hearing none, sir, would you like to?
Yeah, I was trying to get understanding. For a car shop, would that be zoned underneath the C3 zoning?
For a car shop, we'd have to probably have to specifically try to track that down and look at it.
But I don't think that that's zoned under C3 zoning.
Operations, design, contract, and service compliance on the mechanical.
There's some uses that it could fall into. That's really what it comes down to, because the way that our ordinance is currently, there's multiple uses that justify that being there, whether it be by special use permit or it could possibly be permitted by right. We have to validate that.
As far as the parking and stuff, I couldn't form that parking on my own property for my own business.
I don't, what do you?
So saying if I built a building on my lot and I supplied parking on my own lot, they wouldn't even have to go down the street.
Their concerns are other people could do the same thing past you and generate the traffic, because this change would allow that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is all the surrounding. That's the issue with that. Okay. So without objection, I'm going to move to discussion with the board and close the public hearing. And I will open it up for comments from the board. Questions?
I think rezoning all those properties would be a mistake.
Before I entertain a motion, could you give me a brief overview of what we're charged with finding here? As we discussed earlier.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to go to the Board of Aldermen anyway, right?
Yes, sir. Ultimately, this matter can go.
Unless he wants to withdraw his application.
If the applicant chooses to withdraw his application, then there's nothing for you all to do. If the applicant moves forward with his application, then you all are charged with making a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. You can recommend the change, or you cannot recommend the change. And that recommendation has to be based on a statement of either consistency or inconsistency, based on the facts contained in the application, the staff report, and the comments that you received this evening. You can reflect upon how this proposed zoning is in harmony with the surrounding uses. Does it comport with our land use plans? You reflect on all that information and then you decide whether this request is consistent or inconsistent with the plan of growth of the city of Cleveland.
Okay. Board clear on that? And with that, I'll welcome more discussion or entertain a motion on this item.
But this step one would be for you all to make a determination about whether this request is consistent or inconsistent.
There you go.
I think it's inconsistent. I think it should stay, well, I mean, consistent, I think it should stay residential. I would like to see the applicant to make a change. If we could get the front properties maybe to be wanting to be a C3 and come back to your lot and leave the rest.
Yeah, but we're not saying we're going to grant it.
No.
We're not making any
No.
conditional recommendation.
No.
No.
Okay, so, but,
That's it, to change them.
okay. Fair enough. We aren't going to do anything. Okay. Just want to put that out there. So is that a motion?
Have I had
A motion of inconsistency?
Based upon.
based upon residential to R20s, wanting to change it to a C. Should I say
So
that?
what I'm hearing is that you're making a motion to find that the proposal is inconsistent in that the adjacent land uses are residential in nature, and this proposal will be inconsistent with the residential nature of the surrounding properties. That's what I heard.
So I have,
What she said.
okay. So I have a motion. Do
I second what she said.
All right, and I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'm going to go for a, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That part passes. Now we're looking for a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen.
Step 2, based on what I heard the motion to be that just passed, this motion would be to not recommend the change in zoning as pertains to this
The next
application.
motion, I move that we don't recommend to the Board of Aldermen to approve this as it stands.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. One item before everybody clears out, I'm just going to take a brief moment so everybody can leave. This item can still go in front of the Board of Aldermen. If it does, I keep watch on their minutes or on their agendas. There will be a public comment. You all are free, if this goes forward, to go there and make those comments as well.
And we will be notified.
The letter that you received for this meeting, you will also receive for the Board of Aldermen.
So there you go. All right. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thank you.
Turn left, right before the post, right.
All right. We're going to continue. Now that everybody's left.
Before we leave that item, can I ask a question of staff? So the discussion about, well, instead of all the properties all the way down, what about the properties up there?
That's exactly what I
Because if we're talking about the fact that this is really R20 and you've got a bunch of residences with a dead-end road, even that to me doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, there's a backstory on this. Back when Seth worked here, he came in with a question, explained the spot zoning situation. We talked through some options of doing a home occupation. He wasn't interested in doing that. More recently, a complaint was filed and he was using his property for storage, which is not allowed. And he was like, well, where is storage allowed? Or correct me if I'm wrong here.
That's correct.
He said, well, I'd like to ask to rezone it. He went back to the conversation with Seth, and I had sat in that conversation, and I said, if you're going, I said, look, if you're not in a rush, we're looking at all the zoning map and all the zoning laws, you know, we could potentially look at this area comprehensively, because we're about to start a deep dive looking at what everything's zoned, right? Literally like Monday, we're gonna start that. And I explained all this, and we walked through every possible option. And one of my options was, I saw C3 up here, and this is a highway, knowing I thought he was around here, that asking for road frontage property up to there would make it a stronger application. I'm not quite sure how we got to asking for here back. This forward would have been a pretty strong.
Yeah, that's
I
exactly
would
what
have
I
said,
just
well,
circled on
we
here.
got adjacent C3 right here, and we could have gotten behind that. I think there was a sense those owners weren't gonna go for that, and perhaps.
But I got a sense from him that he didn't really intend for all of that to be.
You know, and some individuals do, you know, you could still have the residents. We're not making anything, you know, non-conforming, and I think, well, I'm doing people a favor, and I believe there may have been some good intent, and he thought he had some support. So there's several things that can happen. We're gonna talk with him tomorrow and advise of his options. State law, if you go to have a public hearing and they deny it, which I can't say for certain it would be denied, I feel pretty certain. It's not gonna pass like this, and certainly not gonna pass just the one lot, either way. You can't ask to do another zoning change for 12 months, so you're stuck. What he could do is withdraw the application he has and come ask for something different, and that would, if you're holding on hope to something, this forward up here is a much better application. And the other thing that I'd say, let's always look at the conditions of the roads and our utilities and our infrastructure. That road can't handle commercial development. That alone is a really strong inconsistency thing. But I thought y'all did great today. Probably when we redo our processes, inviting people to this board, we're gonna start meeting downtown at City Hall come January. Because I think this is an important part of the process. People to learn, they're interested, they have a better understanding before they're standing in front of me at a public hearing for the first time, and I'm like, hey, and all these people I've never seen before. So I'm not sure how long this will be moving forward, but kudos to you guys. You handled this process very well tonight. But yeah, I'm not quite sure the thought process on
But my point is, even the ones up towards the road, to me, I mean, you're looking at 1, 2, 3 properties until you get to his property. To assign all of those C3, you're going to potentially create a lot of traffic, even from his property all the way out to 55. And that's not going to help any of those people that live on that road unless that road gets extended to some other major artery.
I can provide a little bit further comment and feedback. In my discussions with Mr. Thompson, he had believed, which he stated again tonight, that those properties already were. Obviously, they did not.
Yeah, because we're looking at it, it's like, no,
He
they're
had to believe that they were, and I said, you have to pick the properties that you would like rezoned. And he's like, well, I want the whole neighborhood. I said, sir, you have to pick those properties. And so he did generate a list, and this was the list that he chose for those properties. So just
yeah, I don't think he quite knew.
Well, even just to me, the flip side of it, just taking the ones towards 55, that would create a lot of problems, I would think, for that neighborhood. But if everybody put a machine shop in there or something, it could create some
But then he go from barber shop to a car lot, a car or something. I didn't quite understand what he said then, and build his building and put a parking lot. It's like the tire shop.
No, the tire shop was farther down the road.
Yeah, no. That's
somebody
It was
else.
farther down Hillmont.
No, that's not
That was somebody else.
Just somebody has a lean-to or
Yeah,
shelter
okay.
building with a bunch of tires.
Typically a zoning district, a modernized ordinance is gonna say, the intent of this zoning district is to, and it will tell you the features that you should have first to apply that zoning to something, right? We don't have that luxury yet. We're working there. We're gonna build that type of ordinance. So, just bearing in mind, that's a really good reason when we update to bear in mind. It's really important when we define what kind of criteria we think go in certain zoning districts. And then one of the hardest things we're gonna have to do is go through that use table and say, yeah, this is good here, this might be good here, and assign those Z's or those S's or whatever that might be.
Yeah, because I went to the ordinances just to look and see what the differences were. It doesn't say a lot.
Plus, yeah, it's
It certainly doesn't
it's
say
hard to
that.
navigate, yeah.
Yeah, there's multiple uses that could be considerable for several different types of uses within this district, and the way that the ordinance is currently, it's up for grabs almost in some ways.
Sure.
Interesting people want to do that.
It doesn't even say that residential is permitted.
A while back before
When you look at the ordinance, the way it's written.
Yeah, residence, I think, is allowed everywhere. It's just very, you have to go to the chart. It's not, you should be able to go read what a zoning district means and what the intent is behind it, and that should help you in situations where we need to add clarity or the Board of Adjustment when they're asked to do that. But we're starting that real soon. Like the date closes Monday at 5 o'clock for our RFQs, so, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Anyways, I just infringed on y'all's comments.
You did, but that's
so-
okay. It's all right. It's all right. We're going to open up item number 6 to board member comments. Has anybody had any comments of any nature about this board or anything? I had a short one. I've gone back and forth on making any comment, but I think I am. About a month ago, when Alden said something that I said that or said some negative things about myself and this board, that I didn't, things that I don't believe. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not pro-growth at any cost. I don't think this board is as either. I think we believe in reasonable growth. I most certainly don't want to live in Wilmington or Raleigh or Greenville. I like Bern. So I would ask any alderman if they have any questions or concerns to come talk to me. I've heard from a couple. I have not heard from Alderman Prill, but that includes my comments.
Mr.
Board
Chair,
has any, yes, sir.
Not to interrupt you, but I did forget, just to add this into the record, I had 2 submittals from 2 separate citizens regarding the same item that we're speaking on.
Okay.
Or previously were, and they were in objection to it. I just wanted to put that on record, because I explained I would take that.
Item 5D.
Yes, that's correct, yes, sir.
All right, if board members have no other comments, I'm going to move on to staff comments. Staff have any comments?
I have no additional comments.
All
So
right.
y'all did great tonight.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
How about bye?
Motion carries.